All right, we are going to move into the next panel, which is building the infrastructure for Open AGI. For this panel, we have Bidhan from Bagel, Michael Heinrich, co-founder of Zero Gravity, Mohamed Baioumy from EXO, and we have Firat standing in for Alton from Nuffle. And the panel will be moderated by Itai Elizur, managing partner at MarketAcross.
Turn it on, or is it on? Perfect, it's on. All right, great. I'm not checking Telegram, I just have the questions because we want to be eco-friendly. All right, perfect. Welcome everyone to Sunday, ETHCC week. It's going to be a heavy one. And there's a term that you might see a bit in this week thrown around a lot, and that's AI. And that's what we want to try and a bit demystify and understand a bit more about here. So I'd love if everyone can start with a very brief introduction of who they are and how do they find themselves sitting at an AI side event in Brussels.
Hi, I'm Mohamed Baioumy. I studied in Oxford AI and robotics, so that's how I got into AI. Currently, I work on something called EXO. It's an edge AI protocol, how you run AI models on edge devices like phones and laptops and so on. And I found myself here because I got a message on Telegram, hey, you're on a panel, so here I am.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bidhan. I'm the founder of Bagel. And in my previous life, I used to be the AI ML infra lead for Amazon Alexa. And that's how I started my career in AI and machine learning. And Bagel is a decentralized machine learning platform where you can fine-tune your models in a totally decentralized way.
Hey everyone, I'm Michael, co-founder and CEO of Zero G. And on our team, we've got probably 8 computer science PhDs. Our team wrote some of the first AI algorithms for Microsoft Bing as part of Microsoft Research. And so definitely spent a lot of time thinking about AI, studying AI, researching AI, both from a distributed storage, distributed kind of scalability perspective. And so what Zero G does is we're the fastest modular AI chain. And so we're building data infrastructure so that fully on-chain AI is actually possible. We're starting with storage, then adding on top of that storage system a data availability system that can do tens of gigabytes of throughput, so many orders of magnitude faster than what's available to date. And then another product we're building today is a decentralized serving layer so that you can register as a serving node for any type of storage or AI inference requests, whether it's TEML, ZKML, and so on. So very quick synopsis.
Hey everyone, my name is Firat. I'm CTO, co-founder of Nuffle Labs, which recently spun off of Near Protocol, which is one of the main AI-driven chains at this moment. Also in our team, we have now just recently hired someone who's done PhD on AI and ML. And what we're doing at Nuffle Labs is basically providing modular infrastructure to anyone. Doesn't have to be just the rollups, which one of them happens to be on mainnet right now, which is RSS3, that is specialized rollup on AI.
All right, perfect, cool. So I know you're asked this a lot. It seems like a basic question, but I do think that we should start the conversation with that. So the panel is about Open AI, and of course, by the way, this term is now also being used a lot by ChatGPT themselves and developers of that. So other than ChatGPT's after my children or whatever, why do we need a decentralized AI network? Like, why is that so important? Why does it, like, other than everything else? Everything should be decentralized, banks should be, social should be. Why AI specifically is important for it to be decentralized, in your opinion?
So that we don't end up working at McDonald's. No, just kidding around it. But kind of our view on this whole perspective is that imagine, 10 to 20 years from now, you've got a bunch of AI agents. They're starting to run specific things in society. Could be traffic control systems, could be manufacturing systems, could be governance systems. Do you feel comfortable giving that much power to centralized AI entities, centralized AI companies? You have to trust them basically to tell you, this is the version of the model that we're running. This is where the training data came from. This is how the weights were constructed. That's a lot of power, like, over society in a few companies' hands. Why shouldn't AI be a public good, and why shouldn't, the mass really benefit from that? If you can have a system where you have fair rewards distribution, anybody that contributed data to a model, why not benefit from that? Why not have economic incentives and disincentives governing these models, governing these agents? Blockchains are built for that. They're built for basically an environment that's adversarial. And so a lot of those type of challenges have already been solved. So it could be as benign as an AI agent that's running trash control and trash pickup in a city, where basically it could say like, hey, I'm super smart. I can go into a centralized database, basically just add a lot of entries, and then say, hey, I've done all this work. Here are all the deepfake pictures of me doing this work. Give me the reward. Much easier to do in a centralized system, very difficult to do in a decentralized system. And that's why AI deserves to be on a blockchain.
Okay, so a centralized entity that rules, like if Google had Google's power just in AI, you're saying that it's more dangerous if they have the power to control search, or if Facebook have the power to control social. AI, we believe, is exponentially different in that type of environment. Okay, cool. That's one reason. Anyone like, we're just trying to understand why we need in parallel to build this.
Yeah, maybe another topic, which I also agree with you, that keeping these systems decentralized is going to provide some kind of policing to the AI that even big companies are kind of developing, right? Another part of it is connected to this is basically making it verifiable and on-chain, so that if we define some rules, we need to, if the AI needs to follow it.
Transparent. We can make sure, okay.
But
I also think about innovation itself. Like, we want to see a lot of innovation in AI, and if we let Open AI or three other companies rule it from beginning, then we're not going to be able to harness the full power of entrepreneurs, because it's not a lot of situations where someone, like the market share that OpenAI has been able to get in this space has been from 0 to maybe 95 in a month or 2 months or 3 months. So there's also just the ability of harnessing new innovation, and open environments, I think, are much more open for collaboration and innovation. What about that? Like, how much is it just for entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I'll answer previous question first. Like, why AI needs to be decentralized? Why
the same
not
question.
Something else? It's similar. Yes, Google dominates search, Facebook dominates social, but those are some small...
Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, please remember.
Yes,
that's
all of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Meta.
Yeah.
But those are small steps in the journey of our species that we had so far. AI is way more significant than that. AI is as significant as the invention of fire in the history of our species. Do we want fire to be owned by one company? No. That's why decentralizing AI and giving everyone the power to build AI or have access to that is so important.
All right, perfect. Should we move on, or have anything more to add? I think there's a lot more subjects to this.
I was going to say, like, decentralization also can mean a lot of different things. It could mean literally that the model is running on a decentralized network, that you can own a part of it. It could be a centralized model, but the governance of it decentralized. It could just be open, like just everything's open source. You can do it yourself. It's not on a decentralized network, but you could just have access to it. So it could, like,
I think that's a very important point,
layers.
the difference between open source and decentralization, but maybe we'll get to that. So actually, I think continuing on that, that's a bit of a continuation. We're seeing a lot of drama right now in Elon Musk, Twitter, OpenAI, Apple phones, Apple whatever. Do you think that is, again, an example of, like, why do you think Elon, and whoever doesn't know, Apple is talking about coming pre-installed with OpenAI in it, and in the terms of conditions, when you're going to buy your new Apple phone, you're going to literally let OpenAI continuously collect information on everything that you do all the time. And, well, maybe I might be wrong, and please correct me. I'm a marketer, I only read the titles. And Elon Musk said that if that is a situation is going to happen, then first of all, any employee of his companies won't be able to work on any iOS systems. And he even went ahead of saying that he's thinking about actually delisting X from iOS phones. I don't think that ever can happen. He'll lose all his money in one day. But, like, is that an example? Do you think he's fighting that fight, or? Why is that happening?
Yeah, I'll give a very concrete example. I don't know if anybody's seen the news around Perplexity being under hot fire. This was a Forbes article, kind of look it up. So basically what happened is Perplexity took a Forbes article and then almost verbatim quoted things out of that Forbes article without giving any citation to the source, and basically saying the Perplexity model created all this content. So imagine you're working on your PhD thesis, never been released. Apple collects all that data through OpenAI. All of a sudden, all of that knowledge base shows up in somebody's writing coming out. So that's the danger of not correctly attributing where the data comes from. It's another case for truly open AI that's on the blockchain.
Interesting. Thoughts or whatever, like, is this a good fight? Is it a bad fight? Is it like, because Elon Musk isn't exactly Mr. Decentralization, so is it just, what are your thoughts there?
I think, like, not to over-index on the names, but I think the idea there is that there should not be monopolies on AI, and that's what he's trying to say, I think. Basically, two big companies coming together and then kind of like coming and being just one controlling this AI and getting all of this data out to use for their own good is not good for the whole other actors also in the economy of this.
All right, okay, cool. I think let's move on to, I guess, a bit more tech talk. So talking a lot about infrastructure, how do we fall into a place that, so this is a blockchain conference, and I think that there's today more layer ones than maybe dApps, and there might be more protocols than users on dApps. How do we make sure that that doesn't happen in the AI space, specifically on the infrastructure level? Like, is there too much infrastructure? At some point, should we start talking more about use cases? Are we already talking about blockchain AI use cases? Like, where are we talking about that? Because there is a problem of too much infrastructure, not enough, I would say, applications. How do we solve that in blockchain and AI?
We solve that problem by...
Oh, congratulations. Kidding.
I mean, I say everyone in this room, by the way.
Okay.
Together. This is decentralized, so not just Bagel, everyone. We can solve that problem by making the infrastructure as permissionless as possible for AI. And as I have been saying for multiple years now, that we foresee that most of the users of these kind of infrastructures are not going to be humans. There will be autonomous agents, and there are going to be billions of them, like way more autonomous agents than people. And that's why it's very important to make them permissionless, so that these billions of autonomous agents can come and they can self-improve, self-replicate, whatever that might be.
So you're talking that the way to look at AI adoption is not through what we're thinking about, like application dApps businesses. It's more about how many autonomous agents are being deployed and how successful they are, I guess. Is that like the metric? Is that what we're trying to get to endless amounts of autonomous agents?
Yes. I mean, it's like they go hand in hand, right? Doesn't matter what kind of business you have, if it's a Shopify, marketplace, or some protocol, majority of your users are going to be autonomous agents in a year from now. That's what we're seeing live in the industry at the moment. So even if you want your business to be successful, you need to make it permissionless for them.
Yeah, I completely agree with Bidhan. And by the way, super excited talking about community, partnering on vector databases and fine-tuning. And this is how decentralized AI becomes a real thing through these different community partnerships. And we're super excited about it. The other piece to that, though, is to make decentralized infrastructure, going back to that point, to not be as difficult as it is today, and to remove any of the barriers that stand between decentralized and centralized infrastructure. If you ask a lot of projects right now building AI meets Web3, like where do you store your model? How do you do your inference requests? Like a lot of them don't tell you, oh, it's stored on AWS, or we're having a.
We love AWS. They're one of the partners of the event.
Exactly. Which AWS also participating in decentralized networks, so it's not just that. But so how do we then make that whole thing decentralized and inexpensive enough so that it makes sense to build completely on chain and to remove any of the barriers? If you wanted to train a large-scale language model today on chain, it's not possible. The data availability doesn't exist. It would be too expensive to store the data, process the data. There's even research issues. You can't like batch process or asynchronously process all of that model training just yet. So there's even fundamental research problems that, that are still in the way. So I do think there's still infrastructure that does need to be built before we can get to the end state.
Okay, cool. But when you talk about infrastructure, and actually a general question, not about AI only, we're all talking about the internet. We love the internet. How many protocols control the internet? Well, maybe in the end of the day, we all ended up choosing 2, 3, 4, maybe movements from HTML to flat, whatever, but is there a point where, maybe this is a larger discussion about blockchain, we need to talk about consolidation of infrastructure, or like, how many winners can there be, or is AI going to be different? Is AI a situation where there might actually be 15, 20, 30 infrastructures? Because hard to see a lot of places in the world where it doesn't end up consolidating into 2, 3, 4 leading actors or paradigms or protocols. Is AI going to be different?
So when we're talking about decentralization, having just winner doesn't make sense, in my opinion, because at the end of the day, there will be multiple, you call them protocols, infrastructure, whatever you want to call them, but all of these has to work together on a, maybe there's going to be one interface that's going to win. Looking at AI, I think if we're going to have decentralized AI or like this open systems, it's going to be the same, where we're not going to have just one winner, but we're going to have decentralized different networks or infrastructure working together through maybe one or a couple of interfaces in between them.
I do think it's going to happen on a few different levels. For example, I think we're going to have like a few foundational models for different modalities, but then based on those like few building blocks that are just used everywhere, everyone's going to like fine tune those models for the specific application and there's a specific app, and you're going to have like this trend was going to happen in the whole stack, where you're going to have, like, for example, the foundational model layer, you have the few that everyone has trained, like the gigantic best model, like Meta makes one, they open source it, and now in different application, different downstream use cases, you're going to have it be adapted to the use case for it, but you're going to have like just a few standardized ones. And the same thing for like other practices about how, I don't know, these agents transact, for example, and stuff like that. You can have like a few standardized ways that just like win out, because of the network effects in there, and then in the downstream application, you're going to see the new ones come out.
And so, do you think there's a chance of us being able to build this in conjunction with the centralized AI and working together? Because let's say crypto in the beginning, we came out to replace the banks, and then a few years we discovered that what we're actually doing is doing the banks better. And we could have solved this in a few years. Maybe blockchain would have gotten better adoption if we didn't try for the first few years as maximalists to replace, but improve. Do you think that can decentralized AI live in peace with centralized AI, or is it, you know, one versus the other? Will they live in different worlds, or will there be frictionless, I would say, interoperability?
I would say it depends on the use case. If you have a spectrum of, let's say, you know, an agent that's only doing personal tasks for you versus societal level use cases, like that agent that's doing like ordering pizza for you, that can live on an edge device, for example. You don't necessarily, as long as you have some entry on a blockchain, you know, not a big deal. But if the threat is very, very large on societal type of use cases, absolutely it needs to be on decentralized AI. So I think I see that distinction between the two. And just to make this interesting from our conversation, if you look at the human brain, it's a collection of highly specialized types of neurons. For example, you have a motor cortex all about movement, but then you have a prefrontal cortex and different layers on the outside of the brain that are coordination layers. So why can't AI evolve in a similar way, where you have hundreds, thousands, maybe millions of highly specialized expert models? Maybe there's an expert model in physics, and then there's coordination layers that are larger language scale models. And I actually think today on blockchains, we can start building some of these smaller expert models today. So I'd love to see things kind of evolve in that way, versus just saying like, oh, everything's going to be centralized, and there's a centralizing force.
Yeah, we're not trying to just do a copycat of saying, here, here's ChatGPT, but Sam Altman doesn't control it. We're necessarily it's going to need to get in and out, right? How do we build that from day one? How do we, like, again, I personally, as someone who's been in crypto for a while, so adoption took us a long time because we were picking fights with the Web 2 world and not thinking how we could work together. So how does that happen on the grassroots level? How do we improve current AI and not try to build a complete garden that's supposed to win it or replicate it?
Yeah, I mean, if you even look at it from, let's take the Bitcoin network, for example, powerful coordination engine, lots of economic incentives. And then I think this was a study I've seen from maybe 2 years ago. The entire hashing power of the Bitcoin network was 100 times greater than all of the data centers Google had. So never underestimate the power of coordinated community. So do we have that today in decentralized AI? We have some approaches to it, like BitTensor, I would say, but I don't think we have this level of like coordination just yet. So I think the coordinated.
Don't get me started on the energy thing. Everyone's talking about how bad Bitcoin's for the environment. No one's talking about how AI servers are taking whatever. All right. We're going to try and get to the last third, I would think, of the panel. So a lot of people are saying AI right now, that's for sure. And there's a lot of people here who are founders or maybe investors or want to partner or build on a network or invest. How do you advise them to spot the knot? How can you try and do your own due diligence and say who's a real AI project, who's in this for, I would say, the long term is going to do that, and who's putting the word AI on their deck or website right now because it's the hot thing and then will replace that. Now, we're not talking about any specific names, projects, or whatever, but how would you help people better understand, or maybe what are things that they should, as non-super technical people, look at, learn about, do a bit more reading? Because I do think that that's a very important part right now. Everyone knows the word AI, but they don't have maybe the tool set other than reading the press releases or whatever to make a better differentiation. I would give my personal tip, see if the founders have ever worked in AI. If none of the founders or the leading team has ever worked in the industry, maybe they shouldn't be a billion-dollar company without a product just yet. But that's my personal tip.
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing. So basically, people who are looking to invest in these companies should
invest, partner, build. There's a lot of different things.
Whatever.
I'm not just talking about money.
They should look at the team and what they've been saying for a long time, and they didn't change their view on AI and if they ever worked on AI until the last, I don't know, year or two. Look at what they've been doing, look at the papers that they've written, look at the partnerships that they had before, and then go into their website and then see if they're actually walking the walk and talking the talk.
I would say it's quite easy to spot who are the real AI people and who are not. Just look who are shipping, who are launching products. If a team is just talking about AI without launching anything, then it's more likely that they don't have anything real. But if a team is launching, then it's more likely that.
How many years did OpenAI work in stealth? 6, 7? It takes time to build real stuff. I'm not saying, it does.
Yeah, it does, of course. I mean, yeah, the Rome wasn't built in one day, right? It takes a long time, for sure. But at the same time, if your project is in stealth or haven't launched anything, but launching a token at the same time,
saying you still have something to show. You have years of research, and maybe not above the fold, but you have something in the back end to show. Okay, so you would say see at least a year or two of like conviction in this space and building and research. That's like a decent look at like a higher chance that it's not just saying AI. All right, I agree with you. Any other tips for people?
Yeah, one filter that can be useful as well. This is obviously, just personal opinion, not 100%. Like you always use this filter, but are you an AI company or are you using AI as a tool? It's kind of very similar to when Web 2 first came out, and it's like, oh, I'm using the internet, like I build on the internet, and then you're just using it kind of as a tool. So very similarly, are you building something specific that's adding to the overall infrastructure of AI, or are you adding some interesting new techniques and technologies to further the field of AI, or are you just using it like, hey, I put ChatGPT into a smart contract, and here's a wrapper?
So actually, I agree with you, and I think that I'm a marketer, PR. I didn't introduce myself, not that interesting. But when our clients come to us and say, oh, we have a big announcement, it's something with AI, the first thing, I'm not talking about projects that are building AI, it's more of like a tool. Then the first thing we ask them is it anything proprietary, or is this bar ChatGPT and whatever with some UI or skin? And if the answer is the latter, we usually tell them we really suggest you put that out there, which it's not a bad thing to build toolings based on ChatGPT, but when you launch a product, you're saying we're doing an AI product, if it's literally just smart prompts and smart contracts on ChatGPT, that needs to be kind of out there. So I would also look at that. Is there any proprietary tech, or all they're doing is aggregating different AIs, I guess? Do you have anything to add? I feel like we're neglecting you there.
No, a slight variation of what Michael was saying is, the way I think about it is, you have like Web3 tech, and you have AI, and an intersection, like where is the problem and who's helping the other? So for example, I could be using AI to help solve a Web3 problem. Like for example, in crypto, DeFi hacks are a thing. So audits are important. I can use an AI model to like better secure my smart contract. I'm using AI as a tool to like solve a Web3 problem. The other way around would be, let's say I'm an AI and I care about privacy. So I'm gonna, I don't know, use FHE or some privacy preserving technology to like solve a problem in AI. And those two things are very different. Like solving a problem in Web3 versus solving a problem in AI are two very different things. And the risk profiles and the timelines you can expect are very different. If I wanted to bootstrap a data collection marketplace with a token, that's very different than, for example, FHE ML. The one requires like a deep tech breakthrough, and the other requires like a clever like incentive mechanism scheme. So you gotta have these four quadrants of like, is crypto helping AI or crypto, and in what ways?
That's a very good. That could be a whole different panel altogether. But I think it's a very important point. Is this company, project, founder, whatever, trying to do blockchain stuff with AI, or is this an AI company that's going to use blockchain? That's a very important differentiation. So thank you for that. All right, so we're getting to the last part. I want to call it the shout out section. So I'd love if it doesn't have to be AI, it could be better, preferably not something that is your own company, and if you are connected, please let us know. But I want people to leave this room with something that maybe they should read about, a company they should check out, a podcast or whatever, again, around what we're doing. So I'd love if you guys can give a shout out or a news you can use for just something that people should be reading about or whatever. Let's say a year ago, on stage, I told people they should be looking at account abstraction, and I talked about a company I think that's interesting. So just if people could Google one thing and bookmark it, what do you think that should be?
Should I go first? Yeah. Was Ilya here today? I'm not sure, but so Ilya Polosukhin is one of the co-authors of Attention's All You Need. And he is now also advancing near into the user-owned AI part of things. So if you're interested in how AI and crypto can have a product, I would really advise you to check Near Protocol.
Cool.
Yeah, besides the McDonald's job page, I definitely advise. Just kidding. Choppy market, everyone.
In the FTX crash day, McDonald's Social tweeted their hiring page and tagged FTX employees saying they're hiring. So yeah, just joking around it, trying to make it a little bit fun. But I'm actually super excited about the entire spectrum of the AI pipeline. There's quite a bit of innovation at every piece and point, whether it's data generation, companies like Grass, to things like data labeling and cleaning, like public AI I've looked at recently, to the storage piece and DA pieces that we're doing, and then the model training pieces, so like Sentient and various others, to the execution environment, like Aura, to then the agentic web, where you have companies like Theoric, for example, or Zoe doing some really interesting things. So definitely check out each part of that kind of AI pipeline innovation, because it is starting to happen on Web3, and I'm super excited about it. And of course, check out all of our companies as well.
Well, Michael named all the Web3 AI companies and didn't leave one for me. So I'm going to go into AI side, what I'm excited about in the AI space in general. Recently, I've been seeing a lot of improvement in the video generation platforms. Luma Labs, for example, they're doing great work. And I'm really excited about that, because this will disrupt some of the biggest industries in the world. For example, movie making, Hollywood, and stuff like that. And that is something exciting. And also, keep an eye on Bagel. We are
shameless self-promotion.
We are making a big announcement tomorrow, so just follow us on Twitter, and you'll know what happens.
Perfect.
Slightly related to this point, one area I think is very exciting and, well, also terrifying is deepfakes. And it's also an area where I think there's going to be something with cryptography, at least, in the loop to help solve that problem, because you can't use AI models to predict what's real and what's fake anymore. And there are a few projects in that area. One that I like is called C3, but there are a few others. And just deepfakes is, I think, going to be a very important issue with the elections coming up and all those things. And I think cryptography is going to play a role in solving that problem, if we can solve it.
All right, perfect. We're on the second. That's amazing. So we're done. Our speakers are going to stay here for a few minutes. I'm sure a lot of you guys want to talk to them. So please let people a few minutes interact with you guys. Thank you very much. And I hope you guys have a productive ECC week. Thank you very much.